ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 17 of the Racco Strength and Fitness Podcast, the Phillip Rivers episode. Today, I'd like to talk about an exercise called the overhead press. This exercise is a great measure of total upper body strength. It's a great core builder, and it's actually argued that it may have more athletic translation than even the bench press. All right, let's take a look. If you've spent any times in gyms, you've probably seen many different variations of the overhead press. Some of the more common variations are seated with back support, an open back, or standing. You can use dumbbells, kettlebells, or a barbell. Some gyms may have overhead press machines, and you can even see the overhead press performed on a Smith machine. You may also notice that the execution of this exercise may not always be exactly the same. While it is most common for people to press with the bar in front of their bodies, it's also not unheard of to see some people press with the bar behind their heads. For the rest of this video, we will focus on the standing overhead press with a barbell and a starting position in front of the body. When setting up for a standing barbell overhead press, I personally find it best to use a squat rack to rack the barbell instead of having to pick the weight up off the floor each set. Generally, I want the bar to be just about or right beneath shoulder height, so I have to bend my knees just a touch to grasp the bar. The reason I like to rack the bar just a little bit low in this exercise, and in all exercises that use a barbell and a rack, like a squat as well, is because after a set, when you've expended all your energy and are tired, it is much easier to go straight to the rack and let the weight down, as opposed to trying to lift the weight up to the rack. It's just an overall smarter and safer practice. Once I approach the bar, I need to find the correct placement for my hands. This is actually crucial because hand placement too wide or too narrow can increase stress placed on the elbow. At the bottom of the rack position, your hands should be directly stacked above your elbows. Once we find where your hands should be, you have two options of hand grips you can use. The first is a normal grip with your thumb wrapped around the bar. This allows for full control of the bar as you have your thumb actively engaged in the gripping process. However, simply allowing your thumb to be on the opposite side of the bar actually has an effect on humeral positioning and can lead to a little extra stress in the elbow during pressing. The second grip is a thumbless grip or a suicide grip. Here, the thumb is placed on the back side of the bar with the other four fingers of the hand. This allows for more optimal positioning of the humerus during pressing, as it allows the hand to be ever so slightly more supinated and decreases stress on the elbow. However, without the thumb on the other side of the bar opposite the rest of the fingers, there is an increased risk of accidents where the bar can slip out of a lifter's grip. If you decide to use this thumbless or suicide grip, always remember to keep the bar dry, use chalk if your hands are sweaty or slippery, and always have a spotter. Now, once we have figured out our hand placement and grip, it's time to lift the bar from the rack. Bend your knees slightly to get underneath the bar and use your legs to lift the bar up and out of the rack. Elbows should be directly underneath the bar, and your hips should be locked forward to keep your lumbar spine in a neutral position. Once you have the bar secure and under control, take half a step away from the rack to give yourself a little space to operate. It's now time to begin your press. Working from the ground up, our feet should be about hip width apart with our toes very slightly turned out. If this foot positioning sounds familiar, it's because the hip hinge and the deadlift have the same stance. Working our way up the body, our hips should be rolled forward and our glutes engaged. This allows us to keep a neutral lumbar spine and to cut down on any shearing forces that could put the low back at risk. As we travel up the spine, you will notice that we need to have a little extra extension in the thoracics while the bar is in the rack position. This is to actually keep your face out of the way of the bar so you can stay pretty for all your future selfies. It is key, though, to make sure that the extension occurs in the thoracics and not the lumbar spine. as we need the lumbar spine to be as neutral as possible to create stability for the lift. Taking a deep breath into the belly, or performing a Valsalva, drive the bar up. As the bar passes your face, allow your thoracic spine to return to a more natural position. I like to coach people to imagine pressing their faces through their arms as the bar reaches the top position. With this exercise, unlike the hinge or deadlift, the bar path is not completely straight up and down. In fact, it should be slightly curved posteriorly as it passes by your face. Once you're able to lock out your elbows in the top position, exhale and slowly lower the weight back to the starting position. Remember to extend your thoracic spine as the bar lowers to keep from smashing your nose with the bar. Once at the bottom, pause, take a breath, and repeat. Things we do not want to do when overhead pressing. We do not want to use momentum from previous lifts, so it's key to pause and reset after each lift. We do not want to bend our knees to create extra drive. We do not want to overextend our lumbar spine. And finally, we absolutely do not want to twist or squirm as we struggle to complete a last rep. Once you're unable to perform the reps with correct form, you're finished. Step up to the rack and re-rack the bar. As I mentioned before, the overhead press is a great test for overall upper body strength and stability. But if you want to incorporate it into your training, and I recommend that you do in some capacity, you'll need to know which muscles it trains directly. As with all overhead exercises, the main muscle targeted is our anterior deltoid. But it is also great for increasing size and strength of the middle and posterior delts as well. Overhead pressing is also key in building strong mid and upper traps, triceps, and an absolutely iron core. Again, for the purpose of this video, I wanted to focus on the standing barbell overhead press. But maybe you're not ready for this exercise, but still would like to reap some of the benefits. Lucky for you, in the fitness world there are always different variations we can try. If you're a beginner, I might recommend starting in a seated position. This just takes the bottom half out of the equation and allows you to focus on less moving parts when learning the lift. If you choose a seat with a back, know that you are now taking your core out of the mix and almost purely isolating the delts and traps. By using a backless seat, you will need your core to keep your body stable during the lift. Perhaps you're uncomfortable using a barbell. You can also try this exercise with dumbbells or kettlebells from both the seated and standing positions. Now, if you're really looking to isolate your anterior delts and remove all stability obstacles, performing the overhead press on a Smith machine may be exactly what you're looking for. Because the bar is attached to a track, you don't need to worry about keeping the bar stable. All you need to do is push. Be careful. Just because you may be able to push 100 or 200 pounds on the Smith machine, do not assume that you can do the same amount of weight with a free barbell. The removal of stabilizers significantly increases the difficulty of the lift. That's all for me, everyone. I hope you were able to learn something that you'll be able to apply in your future training. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel for more training content in the future. Happy training, everyone, and remember, grab the bull by the tusks.